So to tank or not to tank? That's the Spurs question.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right in the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kansas City, San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. Hey, it's Hump Day, so just a few more days and you're free and clear. Hit the weekend, and hope y'all are going to have a good one. What are we talking about today? You can see on your screen, we're going to be asking the question, to tank or not to tank? That's the big question now. No Wemby record, been losing of late. Yeah, is that, we're going to prioritize that. Should tanking be at the top of the priority? Are there any pros to not tank? Or any you get the whole idea here. Yeah, we're going to be discussing that with the stretch run of this first season already here. Can you believe it? The season's already over. Wow, it's already there. And then we're going to look at tonight's game, Spurs Rockets. By the way, I am Jeff Garcia, Ken's 5 Spurs digital writer. And make sure to subscribe to Locked On Spurs, wherever you get your favorite podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app, YouTube, you know where to go. Locked On Spurs newsletters in the description below. Click on that link if you're on the YouTube side of things, and it says LO Spurs newsletter. Click on that link, completely free, sign up right away. But yeah, at this point of the season, I think it's safe to say you got to start asking the question, okay, where are we going with this season, all right? You don't got Wemby. He's done for the season. Their record, I guess there's life a little bit, like a glimmer of hope, a play-in, but playoffs for sure not in. Play-in, I'm thinking it's already a wash already. So you got to start wondering what's more important right now, getting these guys burned or just once again prepping the future of this rebuild. Let's discuss that and more with our guest, Ken Spy's very own Casey Vieira. He's back, everybody. But by the way, not for lack of trying. We did try a couple weeks ago, Casey, but just things fell apart schedule-wise. But I'm glad you're back nonetheless.
Busy. Blame Victor for having his 1 in a million situation, and blame Pop for prioritizing his health.
Darn it. Yeah, exactly.
God forbid.
Yeah. God forbid life gets in the way. Yeah, exactly. Make sure to follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. Once again, he's the Ken's 5 TV sports anchor on the weekend, Thursday through Sunday. So go check him out on Ken's 5 TV. Casey, we're going to try to get away from the whole Pop, coaching future, position, and all that stuff, because we've been talking about it ad nauseum right now in the last 2 episodes of Locked On Spurs. But just get your quick thoughts, your very quick thought when you saw the news via ESPN Sharania that Pop is not returning this season and possibly the future is clouded now, his return. And by the way, the Spurs officially have not said anything, so keep that in mind. What were your quick thoughts on that?
Kind of. Well, I don't want to say this is what we all saw coming, but when it comes to the Pop thing, you just have to look at what 2 + 2 equals here. And this is of course a 76-year-old man that dealt with a very severe medical condition, going to be thrown back out there going to work. And it's not, his job entails probably the most high stress, high leverage job you could possibly be in. Unfortunately. So I'm not particularly, fortunately, not particularly surprised. Hopefully we see him back. It's interesting that the Spurs, we're going on about 5 days, and not that the Spurs have often been one to really, be vocal, nor should they, about the subject matter.
Sure.
But a little bit interesting that they haven't said anything in any capacity yet. I know Brian Wright, ahead of the first Pelicans game the other day, and I know he alluded to, the closest we've gotten so far was him alluding to that everything is staying the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of just unfortunately where, at least me, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but just kind of the news that we were expecting, and to a lesser extent we got.
Yeah, the Spurs really have been sticking to that PR statement they released when the incident happened. Even Buford out in France, when he was asked during the Paris games about, he just stuck to the script, and that's all that Mitch's been sticking to the script every time they're asked. But yeah, I will remember with you, I wasn't surprised whatsoever that as far as this season is concerned, likely a wash for him. next season moving forward clouded. So again, not really too surprised. All right, got that out of the way. All right, let's talk about, I guess, the same topic, the present and the future, because that's within the balance right now for the Spurs with these remaining 20-ish games. Casey, at this point of the season, I think playoffs, yeah, don't even think about it. Spurs play in. I mean, so many things have to happen in place for that to happen, in my opinion, like them winning. So not collapsing as we saw recently, versus the Pelicans. What was that, 39-17? Yeah.
Forget getting help from other teams. Let's just focus on getting the wins.
Help yourself, Spurs. Yeah, but I'm already at the point now where I don't think the play-in is even in the cards at this point, considering some of the games they got to play against. You still got Houston. We'll talk about that later. You still got the Thunder. You got an emotional return to Sacramento. We'll see if the Kings get pumped up for that. In other words, you can really see a lot of L's ahead for the Spurs. You don't have Wemby. Yeah, that's going to even add more to the probability. A lot more L's are coming than W's. So to tank or not to tank, that's where we're at right now. What do you think the Spurs should do, Casey? Is it just their best interest to just look ahead for the near future draft offseason versus the 2024-25 season?
I think this is kind of the point where we were at, not to as dramatic of an extent, the past really 2 years. Whereas that, I don't think you have to worry about particularly having the conversation of to tank or not to tank, because the team currently constructed without Victor is not very good right now. It's not, and it's going into a tough part of the schedule. So yeah, the weight of having kind of that argument to directly try and lose, it might not be, it honestly might not matter, because the team is so banged up right now,
right?
Thin in the front court, obviously down Victor, and going forward, maybe the bigger conversation is whether or not, as it pertains to the kind of the tanking aspect of it, is I think the De'Aaron Fox side of things, might not be a bad idea for the end of the season, to get that pinky facing the right direction, because it's not faced the right way right now. I think that there's probably a little bit ways to go before we entirely see them commit to fully one way or another. But if we're being completely honest, at the same time, you're not going to complain about your chances to get a good draft pick. Me personally, I think they kind of played their way out of a bottom 5 pick in the league, because they played reasonably well for the first half of the season, and you just the gap between them and where the Washingtons of the world, and where I don't know, New Orleans beat them over the weekend, but the Pelicans of the world, the Utahs of the world, they have to play some really bad basketball in order to kind of hop those teams into the top 4. I don't see them having a winning record the rest of the way, or 500, but I don't see having a complete bottom out in these last 25, 26 games, to the point where that ground is essentially made up, for lack of a better term. But if it works out the way it does, and I think, the more I kind of rationally think about it, articulate it, is probably just kind of stay the course with what they have. Don't do anything dramatic. The further extent of it being having Fox maybe get a head start on that surgery, but I don't think you do that tomorrow. I think you give it a little bit more time, because Fox is still a guy who needs to acclimate in this, on this roster. And I prioritize go out there and play. I prioritize his health, or excuse me, I prioritize him getting some chemistry more so than his, again, relatively speaking, his health, getting that thing worked on. If he's good out there, and he's good to go out there, and he's good to play. But a little ways to go to decide that. I think right now, though, they're in a reasonable spot to kind of explore those options a little bit more, and we'll see.
Yeah, I think you hit the big highlights on the head there. The pros for letting some games slip away is draft positioning. Try to get the best odds you can. We've seen crazier things happen in NBA draft lotteries. teams that weren't expected to jump into the top 5, vault into the top, 1, 2, 3, or number 1. It's not unheard of teams getting back-to-back number 1 picks. I think it was at Orlando that got that one year or something like that, or Cleveland, where they ended up getting
Cleveland. It was Cleveland.
Cleveland. It was
Kyrie and
Anthony Bennett.
Anthony Bennett.
Yeah. Hey, I thought Orlando got it too. Didn't they Orlando get with Shaq and Penny? But I don't think so. No, I know Shaq was number 1. Yeah, probably.
Well,
but so
I think which way. Remember Cleveland got the Andrew Wiggins
right
year in there too.
Yeah.
So I think it was Bennett, Wiggins. Either way.
Yeah. Either way, again, history proves that it's not out of the realm of possibility for teams with, I guess, good records for lottery purposes vault into the top 1 or top 3. There is proof. So the pros of that is keeping that belief alive, helping yourselves, I guess the team, get as close as they can to a top 10 pick on their own. Yes, we know ATL picks are there, and ATL is definitely, the Hawks are definitely helping the Spurs right now with the way they're losing. So there's that. So why not amass that and try to get, again, higher picks, and also, too, you can flip them, too. What's more enticing, the Spurs just to play out the course and end up with a 12 or 13 pick, or lose a few here and there and end up with maybe a 10, a 9, and then you can package that whether to move up the draft or get an established player. So there are pros to tanking. There is pros to letting some games slip away. And again, if we're still in a rebuild, and the Spurs are, then why not have another rebuilding piece than having their own higher end pick? And they can help themselves that way. Of course, these guys, these players, they're competitors. They're not going to want to lose. You can't, Mitch is not going to go into the locker room and say, okay, guys, we need to lose. All right, here's why. They ain't going to buy that. It'll be a bad look. But again, there are reasons why the team should consider that option. And look, obviously there's cons, and we're going to get to that in a few minutes. But, let's hold that thought. Let's look at the cons next. All right, we're going to be looking at that, whether the Spurs should tank or not tank, right here with Casey Vieira, my colleague at Kens5 TV. Make sure to follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. Do that right now. But first, let's talk about Robinhood.
With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up today at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC.
What's up, guys? This is KG Tang, voice of Sanami Shinizugawa and Demon Slayer, and you're watching Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Casey Vieira, my colleague at Kens5. Make sure to follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. We welcome him back. We missed him here. at Locked On Spurs. So,
been a minute.
Glad you're back.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
Probably a solid month.
Yeah.
Maybe a little less. Feels like.
Maybe a little less.
Feels like it's been a month.
Yeah. Again, we try to get him on.
It's been too long.
Yeah. It's been too long. We tried to get him on, but things just fell apart at the last second. But he's back. That's all we're caring about right now. We're talking about the Spurs. Should they tank or not tank? We went into some of the pros of why they should tank and, maybe let some games go. All about the rebuild, all about positioning, all about more assets to flip if they want to go the right direction. That being their own higher picks. So, what about the cons? Obviously, the cons is losing. Nobody's going to want to lose, Casey. So that sucks. You may lose some season ticket holders this season that are looking to renew. So there's the financial aspects of it. You might see them get bumped off national TV games, which, by the way, I'm expecting that to happen soon for them to get bumped. Soon. It's coming. Yeah, no Wemby, no attraction. It's like it's going to happen. So you can see the big financial impact of them losing. But the con as well is, you know, maybe you don't get to see De'Aaron Fox get integrate into the system, or maybe, well, I don't know what Mitch is doing, but you don't play Castle more than maybe he should be getting right now. Do you see any cons to why this person avoid the T word?
Yeah, because I think you just kind of look back to what the past of this current core that they do have, to put it bluntly, what's the only thing they've done? Lose.
Mhm.
That's the only thing they've done. I mean, they've lost, and they've lost big. They've lost big, back-to-back years of 22 win seasons.
Jeez.
And perhaps at a certain point, yeah, I mean, perhaps at a certain point, we shift the priority, the mindset of, all right, we're tanking, we're losing. At a certain point, that's got to change, that mindset, that it's okay to go out there and lose. Because this is, and it's easy for me to say, I'm sitting here discussing this on the other side of a camera and I'm not playing, but just kind of just the pure basics of it is that going out there and continuing to be content with losing year after year after year is not particularly the best way, one would think, to have an attitude going forward into a very important time in this franchise's history. So for me, I think that's the biggest argument for not going out there and trying to lose these games, not going out there and just being entirely content with it, because it feels like it's been that way for too long. And when you get reasonable with it, when they're reasonable and they get complacent, why at certain times is it to believe that they're not going to be okay with otherwise? You know what I mean? And given off after what the past 2 years have been, the idea of tanking and losing on that front, for me, the big argument against it is just kind of that psyche aspect of it. Because it's just been too much of the same with the group for too long. And at some point, things got to change a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. You know, there are cons to this too. You know, you don't want to have that losing culture because the Spurs are known for having a winning culture. And now they have, well, I mean, just the last years, it's been a losing culture by definition. No playoffs, not even a play in. It's been a while since you've been in a play in. So don't want to go that route. And then another con too is you're taking away opportunities, as mentioned, for Fox and Castle, maybe Devin and Keldon, to really, clean up whatever they're trying to do, clean up, from Devin's inconsistency to, Keldon, does he have another level? I don't think he does. I think he is who he is now. So there's that as well. But I want to circle back to some of the pros, though. And the more I talk this out, Casey, with you, I'm like, man, there's a lot more pros than there are cons to this. Another pro is, auditioning. Okay, Blake, Malachi, you guys haven't really got a lot of burn. Let's see what you got. You got enough to stick around in this rebuild. Throw them out there. Hey, guys from Austin Spurs land, Harrison Ingram, and those hidden gems. You got some burn. Let's see what you got. Also, too, who's also for the other major pieces, like I mentioned, Sohan and Keldon and Devin. Are y'all really going to be fitting into the system that we're going to be creating around Wemby? Because right now, Devin's looking shaky right now. He just, man, he's in my opinion, he's not living up to that contract. I think he's just been
past. It's been bad. Simply put, right? It's been terrible.
Yeah, but yeah, go ahead. What do you think about that concept of letting those guys pretty much audition for staying with the Spurs?
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to what we've been saying all the way back to Victor's rookie season, was that it was going to be the idea going into last year of just auditioning to see if you can hang around with Victor. And to a certain extent, a lot of those guys that did audition last year came back for a second go around this year, which would tell you that first go around, they were at least reasonably content with that first audition. But when there's no real true urgency to win these basketball games, and definitely not now that Victor is done for the season, yeah, I think that audition continues a little bit to see if maybe any prevailing thoughts that they may or may not have had about these guys and how they blend in, if they changed in some capacity, for better or for worse. You mentioned the Keldon Johnson thing. A lot of these guys, in my opinion, probably have their identity set with how they do work around this team and where they fit in with this team. And now it's answering those questions of whether or not they're content with how it fits in with this team. I'm sure some of the guys, they're not. I'm sure there's some of the guys they see that say, you know what, I think it could work. It just needs a little more time. And that's probably, when you get past the win-loss aspect of it, is probably the most notable part of how this next 2 months essentially is going to play out. Because there are still a lot of uncertainties with this roster, who's going to be back and who isn't.
Yeah,
There are. I think we could all probably agree or come to a realistic agreement that if you're looking at two guys on this team who are going to be here, Victor and Castle, are we entirely sure anyone else beyond that? I mean, they're not all going to go, but the point being is that anyone not named Victor, anyone not named Castle, it's a very conceivable thought that they could be wearing a different jersey next season. And I think that's going to be the big thing for them in these next few months to look out for, is to see kind of one last, I don't want to call it a last hurrah, because that would imply that the person was leaving, but another just crack to see if it works. That's really it. And if you win, you win. You lose, you lose.
Yeah.
And if you lose, then Vic's looking better. So
yeah, exactly. And just one more. Well, just one more thing for the, I guess that's where I'm going to slot it in, is we're not going to really see what Mitch Johnson can do with the close to 100% roster. Obviously losing Wemby's major, but if you start shelving guys early, D-Fox, go get your surgery now. We're not going to see what true type of coach he is, with close to solid roster. And with him also auditioning for a head coaching job, whether it's in San Antonio or beyond, depending on Pop's future, or if he gets courted by another team, there's that aspect of, well, you're losing a chance for Mitch Johnson to shine as a head coach. He is Casey Vieira. Make sure to follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. And leave us your thoughts. What do you think? To tank or not to tank? That is the question. We'd love to hear from you. Hey, we're not done yet. We're going to quickly preview tonight's game, Spurs Rockets. With the way they're playing, I think this preview should be pretty quick. Right here with Casey Vieira. But first, let's talk about DoorDash.
NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When a player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. Here's why you should take advantage of this deal. Game day feast. After an epic 50-point performance, celebrate your ordering wings, pizza, burgers from your favorite spot delivered straight to your door. Late night cravings, whether you're staying up late watching highlights or just need a midnight snack, use Dash Pass to grab something delicious while saving big. Hey, what about fueling your own watch party? Planning to catch the next game? Order your go-to snacks and meals at a discount and get ready for more high-scoring action. Lunch on the go? Need a quick and easy lunch the next day? Dash Pass gets your favorite meals with $0 delivery fee, reduced service fees. Plus, now you save even more with this exclusive NBA offer. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off the order the next day. That's $10 off. Use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more.
This is Emily Swallow, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Casey Vieira. Make sure to follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. He is my colleague at Ken Spy TV, the weekend sports anchor, Thursday through Sunday Make sure to check them out over on Ken's 5 TV. All right, Spurs and Rockets tonight. Back-to-back set. Spurs are well under 500 on the second game of back-to-back. I think they only won like 2 or 3 games out of their back-to-back. So not looking good for the Spurs. They're winding up the road trip with a pair of rough games. You have the Rockets tonight. You get the Grizzlies to end it. Yay, Spurs tank. But anyway, you know what, Casey? For me, I don't know what Spurs team I'm going to get. Oh, real quickly, everybody. We're recording this before last night's Spurs-Pelicans game, so keep that in mind moving forward, all right? But I don't know what team I'm going to get. I'm going to get the one that just looks great for a half versus the Pelicans, then comes apart in the second half, and then gets slaughtered in the fourth. Or I'm going to get that team that beats the Denver Nuggets. Or am I at least going to get a team that's competitive and just lose by 1 or 2? So consider the Rockets are one of the upper crust teams in the West. I think it's going to be a long night for the Spurs. What are your thoughts?
The Rockets need a win, too. They have not been playing good basketball. They've lost 7 of 10. They were comfortably or reasonably sitting in a top 3 spot in the conference, and now they're trying to avoid the play and still have a few more games of cushion to balance that out. But they've very much as they've been in the conversation to be a top 2 seed, they're reeling right now, and they're kind of towing that line of a play-in team. It's going to be an urgent squad that's coming out there for Houston tonight, and any one of these games that they're going to be a notable favorite in. On the Rockets side, they need to get, and really above all else, though, it's a good team they got in Houston. Yeah, as much as one Spurs fan hate to admit, it's a good team that they have in Houston right now. Not feeling particularly great about the Spurs going into tonight.
No, me neither as well. You know, Sengun plays well against the Spurs. You know, your Greens play well. Also, Amen Thompson plays well. The list goes on and on and on. I mean, this is a tough team. Fred VanVleet, and I mean, pick your poison with them. They play tough defense. And if any signs what happened in Austin when you had a Detroit team that plays really good defense indicate anything, Spurs might have some trouble tonight versus Houston. So I got the Spurs with an L, and I'm assuming Casey has Spurs with an L. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't have them winning tonight. I do not. No.
Yeah. All right. Yay. Recap. Look at that. Short and sweet there. Yeah. He is Casey Vieira. Make sure to follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. Do that right now. Thursday through Sunday on Ken's 5 TV. Go to him. Turn on that TV there. Click the button there and go to Ken's 5. Watch Casey do his thing. So you're coming out of NFL season, Super Bowl's over, and you go to the Spurs point, Casey, and you're like, yeah, these last 20-ish games, Casey gets to talk about them Thursday through Sunday, losing probably. Yay, Casey.
Feels a lot like 2022 these days. I'm not gonna lie. Feels a lot like 22 these days.
Again, follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. Do that right now. We'll be back tomorrow talking all things silver and black as the Spurs season continues. I know it might be a little tough, but we got your back here at Locked On Spurs. Subscribe to Locked On Spurs newsletter. It's in the description below on YouTube. It says LO Spurs newsletter. Click on that link. Completely free. Hit your email inbox every single day. I believe we're going to have another Ken's 5 guest tomorrow. I think Vinny Vencetta. He's joining the show, so we'll be talking with him, and we got to throw in some sports card talk there because he's a big fan of sports cards. We're going to be talking about because I think the auction house Golden, they released the name of the winning bid for over $800,000 place for a Wemby rookie card. Casey Vieira. Casey Vieira was the winning bid. Is that true, Casey?
No, I was the one who bought the 73. I don't have 860, but I have the $73,000 jersey. Bro. I don't have 860 to throw around. I got 73 to throw around though, so that's sitting.
That's all. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, you go up stairs at Casey's house, you open the closet door, just cash falls out of it. So that's what happens.
Benz doesn't take care of me that well. Yeah, I can't buy a $860,000 card, but
there you go.
I got that. There you go. That's 70 grand Wemby.
That you do. All right. So we'll be talking about all that and more in tomorrow's show right here, Locked On Spurs. So for Casey Vieira, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.